Control yourself, Scott.
I will.
I'm waiting for Jesse to give me the sign. 30 seconds still. Jesse, what kind of clock do you got there? He gave me 45 seconds.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Jesse, I think we need to synchronize our watches, brother. We are off cue here. I'm live for 25 seconds already, and you don't think I'm live yet. It's coming. Okay. 15. Okay. How come it doesn't say live, Jesse?
It did, but you missed it, I think.
No, I'm live on my side, but Jesse's live on his side. So that's kind of where I'm trying to. So I jumped the gun a little bit.
I did see a notice that somebody.
Okay. Welcome to Hopeifiers. We had a little miscue on lining up Jesse Parmar's clock and my clock, but here we are. I am the acapellist. With me is Brother Scott Sweetman. Brother Scott, how are you?
I'm good. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you. How about you, Al? Oh, you're leaving us. No,
I was just putting my phone on the charger.
I just turned mine off. It just said Al Friesen texted you, but obviously you didn't. So
no, I put the phone on the charger. It's done. I'm focusing on our conversation we're going to have today, Scott. I'm excited about it. I'm sure you have some beautiful insights to share. But can I tell you a story first?
Please, let's hear it. A good one?
I have a practice that I've been developing, and today it blossomed. This is beautiful. When I go do my recycling, I go and take everything, even the stuff that has the like the pop cans or things that have a deposit on them, and I take it to the recycling center above Pina Queen Park there, like above where you'd go down the range. And then when I go there, almost every time somebody is there looking for bottles, and I say, Hey brother, come on over here, right? So then I say, hey, look what I got. So I had one of those big tubs, those big high garbage cans, and it's like stuffed of all the recycling type ones or the ones that have a deposit on it, right? And my guy wasn't there.
You don't drink though, right?
I don't drink. No, it's not alcohol. Lots of kombucha and soy milk. Kombucha and soy milk containers.
Kombucha, same.
Kombucha. I love kombucha. Oh my goodness.
Good stuff.
So anyways, I got all these containers. The guy wasn't there. And then he shows up. I said, hey, brother, how you doing? And he says, oh, yeah, I'm looking. I said, yeah, come on over here. So I had the whole tub all full right up to the brim, right? I says, for you. And he says, well, that's fantastic. And I said, yeah. And you know what? If you want to give me your phone number, what I'll do is text you when I'm on my way here. And then you don't miss this, right? Because otherwise I was just going to leave it there and, hope somebody would pick it up and use it, right? And so he said, oh, yeah, that's great. Matter of fact, I'll do you one better. When your stuff starts piling up, I'll come to your house and get everything.
Nice.
And and I said, what? Deal, buddy. So Tim is my recycling buddy. And so I'm going to call Tim when my recycling starts getting a mess in my garage because I don't get on it as quick as I should and it overflows and it looks like crap. And so Tim is going to make my life better because I made his life a little bit better. And we're going to have a mutually beneficial relationship regarding my pop cans and such.
Symbiotic, simpatico.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Wonderful. That's a great story.
Sister serendipity brought us together.
I think there is a service, and I don't know if it's in Lethbridge, so I better be careful. But I saw an advertisement, and I don't see a lot of TV, so I'm not sure. But it looked like it was a charity that would do the same thing.
Oh, cool.
You could arrange in town, I imagine. So I live in town, but anyway.
This one here is a little bit more direct. Tim and I have a connection directly.
You do. But unless you get Tim's permission to advertise his number, other people may have to choose an alternate way to get their
exactly. Well, Tim did say, and this was very good. He said, well, if you have any neighbors in your area that would like to do the same kind of thing.
Oh, good thinking.
That's thinking. Because Tim was doing
businessman.
Yeah, because before COVID, Tim was doing janitorial work, that kind of thing. So now with a lot of offices where they're not open or they're not reopening or there's no people in them, janitorial services have gone, they're way, way less demand for them, right? Because there's, I don't know, what is it? Maybe half the office space is being used now, maybe?
Crazy. We were talking, 2-3 days ago, you and I used to see each other every day almost in the office.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have to make an appointment to see each other, which is really weird considering.
It is weird.
Could say,
hey, but you know what? I've been in town every day now. I'm going out, no mask, people smiling. Matter of fact, Tim, I said we had the deal with Tim, and I said, "Okay, Tim, this is a great deal. I think it's going to be fun to that we do this together. And how do you feel about a hug?" And that was too much. I pushed him over
Oh,
the edge. He
yeah,
gave me he gave me the fist for a fist bump, but a hug was too far. I
too
said,
much.
"Okay, no problem."
Okay. Well, yeah, your bottle pile wasn't big enough. Maybe.
Exactly. Next time. Yeah, exactly.
We were doing the same thing. Actually, Katrina and Michelle took a load to the recycling place today. So
It
yeah,
always feels so good when you walk in your garage, actually, because it just and this is not the right way to do it. I need to get more organized than I am. But you just keep piling it up, and it's falling all over the place. And you're walking by, and your breeze of walking by drops shit out, like cardboard falls out, and you got to pick it up. It's just like same as the garbage. Why
yeah.
don't I do it more regular? Why don't I put my tools away, Scott Sweetman? Like I don't understand the things I do sometimes.
Well, that makes you a certified farmer. Al.
That's true. To have
Brand-
tools laying all over the place
Yeah,
and cuss lots when you're working on stuff.
yeah.
I'm really good at that.
My uncle's a farmer and he never had tools all over the place. But I grew up on a ranch.
Right.
And if you wanted something, you always looked behind the seat in Dad's truck or the floor in Dad's truck because it was wherever he had last used it. That's where it was.
I have 87 left-hand gloves. The right ones, I take them off to do something, and that stays with whatever the tool was that I was using, probably, right? So you wander around the yard. Oh, there's my right glove, and look, here's the screwdriver I had. So, yeah. But anyways, I am digressing. I told my little story. Now, over to you. Let's hear what you have to say, sir.
Your story is perfect because today's theme is hope springs eternal, right? And this is our season. Us Hopeifiers, this is our season. All the other seasons are great. We love them for their own specialities, however you presume, like aluminum and aluminium, whatever blows your hair back is fine by the Hopeifiers if it makes you happy, right?
Exactly. We're very
inclusive. Hopeifier approved.
We're inclusive, accepting group. We don't judge. Exactly. We don't judge. We love you the way you are.
Yeah, except we prefer old Coke, Al. That we draw the line. Oh, I guess a lot of our viewers have no idea. They're too young for old and new Coke.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yeah,
that was a joke for us baby boomers / Gen Xers. So
yes. Yeah.
Anyway, so it's spring, and spring is an amazing time of year, and we all feel a bit better in spring for a lot of both physical and psychological reasons. You probably know some of the psychological and physical reasons. What do you think? You're big on the chemicals of the brain. What picks up in the spring?
Ooh, sunshine picks up, activity picks up, movement picks up, smiling picks up, connection with other people, like that. All of those things increase, right? You're out doing things, you're seeing people, you're interacting, you're smiling with people. Yeah, it's a beautiful time.
Those are the vitamins of life. All those things you listed right there. If there was a not life brand, we're not associated with the brand or the company, but if there were such a thing as a vitamin of life, it would be full of all those things Al just said. That's what it would say inside of the package. Absolutely. And it releases serotonin in our system. So as we get more light, and it's really interesting. I read an article in Psychology Today, and it was written by a gentleman who has both degrees in psychology and literature. And he was talking about how metaphors, I don't know how I just got whoa, got everything going crazy here.
Had okay over there? Do I have to call 911 or anything?
No. Joe Biden just suddenly came on Alexa and started a speech. So I had to unplug old Joe.
Sometimes with my cell phone, it just starts playing music. I didn't ask for it. Google just wants to participate in my life. Thank you, Google, but no, I'm all good.
Exactly. They're like waiting for you to do something. It's like you haven't talked to me in an hour. So
exactly. Yeah.
Anyway,
by the way, have you ever thanked Google?
I have, yes.
Yeah. You know what happens sometimes?
What happens?
Just watch. Listen to this. Hey, Google, thank you.
Wow. It's not for nothing they say Canadians are polite.
I have a setting on my Google that I say please and thank you all the time. And it used to, not all the time, I shouldn't say that, but often. And it used to mess it up. So there's a setting where you can say please and thank you to Google, and she'll say, or he'll say, please and thank you back to you. Right.
Well, my Google has said to me, I love to serve.
Nice.
So when I say thank you for that, Google, then I love to serve. So that's nice.
Mine's more like Tim. You know, if I say I love you, Google, it's like, okay, I don't know.
Okay, that was too much, but thank
Too
you.
weird. I'm leaving now.
I feel uncomfortable now.
Yeah, so until Google writes me up, I'm gonna watch what I say for sure. So spring equinox was on the 21st, right? Did I
Yes.
get that? I hope I got that right. Daylight and darkness, the balance starts going the other way. And psychologically and physiologically, many people, the majority of people also start getting that boost, right? And a lot of those things can help us with hope. And hoping affects us in a lot of different ways, which we've talked about on the show many times. But the quality of life, and psychologists have measured this, that when people express a sense of hope, even perhaps more so than happiness, because happiness most people recognize as an external feeling.
Happiness is an external feeling.
Well, things make you happy. Generally, we associate happiness with, oh, walking my dog makes me happy,
Right.
right? Where hope is something that's extremely internal. And usually we're hoping for a better something, right? So it's overcoming something. So happiness, and it depends on who you are. This is a gross generalization, not
Sure.
mine. I'm sharing it, which I guess.
Hey, your perspective is what we're looking for, brother. So keep
Yeah,
on it.
and so happiness is, of course, a goal, but often we don't think of happiness as something that we have as much control over, which
Hey,
you and
wait a
I
second.
probably do.
Scott,
Sorry.
can I interject one thing?
Yeah.
I think my bride, Corolla, would disagree. If I'm understanding her correctly, she says she thinks I am too much somebody who pursues happiness too directly. She thinks it should be something that's a byproduct that just automatically happens. You don't seek it. It just, you do all these other things right, and then happiness occurs. And I'm kind of more, no, I'm going for the pin. I'm putting the ball in the hole. I'm going for the happiness thing because I know the things that I can change or alter or adjust in my life. So I don't want it to be that I'm relying on any other external circumstances or anybody else. It's my job, my responsibility. My happiness is my responsibility. And if I get my needs met, then I can freely give to others because I'm good, right? I'm all good. Now I want to help you get that same feeling, same level, same comfort, right? That's kind of my thought process. Does that make sense?
Yes. I'll ask you a question, and it pertains. Just bear
Sure.
with me. And it's really interesting you brought that up. And I'm with Corolla to a point.
Okay.
If something is 50-50, if the chances you have are 50-50, do you think that's good or negative?
I think that's good.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so psychiatrists have analyzed that humans are really unique in that 50-50, which basically means nothing, right? You've got as much chance of falling on your head as you do flying with the eagles. We consider, well, we're both falling apart tonight. What's going on here, Al?
I have this green scarf that I put up to kind of make the light a little less harsh, but it's like 40 feet long and I needed like 2 feet. So the rest of it's all tucked up and every once in a while it falls down because do I take the time to put it up and secure it like with maybe a zip tie?
Of course you do.
No, of course I don't. I just wrap it up, put it back in here.
But you were illustrating my point, Al. 50-50 chance it's going to fall, but being human, you say 50-50, I'm good to go. So psychologists say
you know what? Is that a men and a women thing? Men would say, I have 50% close enough. Women would have to be 95%, right? Because men have way more belief in their abilities, their expectations, or what they think they can. Wait a minute.
I might agree with you.
I don't want to insult men. I'm going to say this man sometimes believes his abilities are outstripped by what he thinks he can do. He thinks he can do more than he can.
But let me ask you this. If we polled our significant others,
yes,
and said, okay, when you looked at this guy, did you think woohoo 80%, or did you think, man, I can change him 50-50 is good to go? So I think women are maybe just as bad as we are in that 50-50 being okay.
Yes. Yes.
Or we would all be sitting around staring at each other because they'd never
Yes.
fight us out.
That's well said. That's well
Right?
said. Yes.
Now, I heard an old joke that said men go into a relationship saying, "Oh God, I hope she never changes," and women go into a relationship saying, "Oh God, I think I can change him."
Yes.
And I think that that's true. I don't know the ramifications of that, but I think that there is some there. Going back
Well,
to
I
my
can tell you one thing for my bride, that she has had to have an incredible amount of patience. For we're married almost 40 years, well, 39 years, and we lived together before that.
wow,
And she has told me what she needs, what she wants, like how I should help her. And I have never done that. I said, "No, I can't do it. It's not up to me. You got to take care of that." But now I'm at a place where I can
nice,
finally. So
yeah.
it's only taken 40 years. I'm a slow learner, but I think I got it figured out how I can be a good husband now. So,
But
I'm saying, honey, okay, the last few ones weren't all that good, last decades, but go forward. I think I got my shit together. I think I'm the husband of the year now.
well, but I've seen Corolla train horses, and there's two ways to make animals do things. To actually train them like athletes, which takes a longer amount of time and a greater
Sure.
amount of skill and a lot of patience, actually. And the other way is to trick them or hurt them into doing it.
Yep.
And I know from when I trained animals, that's one of the reasons I stopped, is the idea that you own an animal so you can hurt it, or you can, I want it to do this, so just make it do it. And I can't afford for 6 months, I want it to do it in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And I've seen Corolla, and she's extremely patient, and she always goes for the athlete goal. She trains them rather than scares them. And so I figure that that's the case with you, right? She's in the long game,
Exactly. Exactly.
so
She's
she could
just
have
got a
beat
very
you early.
Yeah, she's got a very challenging, subject that she's working with because
Yeah.
he's so freaking slow to pick up, right? But eventually he learns it. Hallelujah. So
Oh,
that's what
yeah.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping for exactly. So yes, and you know
Well,
what? Back to that Corolla. We've been chatting recently. I think she's going to get like a little logo together, and we'll get some shirts printed, and we'll get her website launched. And what I'm encouraging her to do is to express her way of training horses. Like
absolutely.
not my way's better. Just say, there's other ways out there. Here's the way I do it. I want to create a harmony with the horse. I want to have the rider and the horse in rhythm, right? Riding in rhythm. That we are reading from each other's cues. It's like dancing. That's kind of the way that she expresses it. So I said, get your artistic stuff together and make us some kind of a, something that shows us, demonstrates that relationship, that simpatico relationship, right? So yeah.
I was quite heartened. As you know, I went to an equestrian college called Meredith
Yes.
in West Virginia, and many years ago, I haven't followed it recently. Many years ago, it was quite advanced for its time because it believed in the same idea. And so when you went there and you took an education, you chose a major, but you always had to take courses in. So I was a Western major, but I took dressage, I took stadium jumping, all of these other disciplines. And so the principles of dressage were brought into reining and to Western riding. And so a lot about movement. And at that time, it was quite a bit ahead of it. And when I watch Corolla teach, when I watch her horses, I see a lot of that same philosophy where it's about the kinetics of the animal and working with the human being. And I remember riding dressage horses, big, warm bloods, to music, and the horses start to move to the music, and the force is incredible because dressage not only moves forward, but it also, you sometimes purposely train the animal to take that forward motion and move up with it
Right.
rather than forward.
Right.
And the power is amazing, and when it's to a music, it's like it's
Okay.
unbelievable.
So wait a minute. So the horses in that mode, then they
Absolutely.
moved in rhythm to the music. Is that correct?
Yes.
You felt it when, as you in the saddle, you could feel their movement that was in rhythm with the music.
If you weren't with them, you would be ejected from the saddle. Like the power, you're talking Tricaners and Hanoverians, you're talking big European warm bloods for dressage, and they have so much power. And when they start, I won't use technical terms, but when they can trot in one place basically, or turn a circle while trotting or loping, and all of the motion is directed upward instead of forward.
Right. Right.
And so if you're not,
It's like they're running in spot and then but still moving, kind of a thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little more complicated than that, but
Yeah.
basically, yes.
Yeah.
But if you're not in sync with them, if you're not moving with them,
Yes.
they will either break you in half or eject you,
Okay.
because we're just too small and too weak.
Oh yeah,
to-
those horses, like they're what are they, like 1,500, 2,000 pounds, right? And they're muscled, right? They're athletes, right? So
Absolutely.
Corolla's horse Sugar, he's an athlete, right? You know, he's very, you know, I've never ridden him, but it's kind of like it seems like it would have the acceleration of a Tesla, where you know you're with the other horses, it's kind of like where you're driving your truck. It's like it's good, but it's not the same, right? So
One of the things you can see about Sugar, and we're getting a little off topic, but on topic, is that you can tell a horse that is really into what they're doing. They naturally gather up their bodies.
yeah,
And, it's when you see a child first learning to run, right? Their hands are everywhere, and when you see a horse that's been trained through fear or just doesn't understand what they're supposed to be doing, their heads are stretching out, their legs are stretching out, and everything is sort of either fighting itself or that uncoordinated action and movement. But when you see a horse that really understands what the rider wants, and it understands what it's doing, and it's an athlete and can physically do it, then you get that animal picking up. And Sugar does that. He when he gets working, you can see that he starts to pick up his center of gravity, and he gets control of his own body, and he's moving with that rhythm and balance. It's just fantastic. Yeah, it's great stuff. So Corolla's
you
great.
one time you should just kind of come here and watch Corolla ride with me, and then we would just have a chat with her about it afterwards. There's things that you and her see and experience that I am not attuned to, right? That I don't see, that I don't get. But you would get it and Corolla would get it, right? And it probably wouldn't take very long for you to teach me that, oh, you see that? And that's what this means, right? I
Yeah,
bet.
I would love to. One of the things and Corolla is certainly a better rider than I was or am, but in terms of technically explaining it, that was one of the things I loved about teaching riding, is that it's like our work with the youth sports team is, we teach safety, we teach all of those things. So once you start working with athletes like our kids on safe,
Yeah.
they're competing at a really high level,
Yes.
they're athletes.
And they're athletes who we are making sure they're super, super safe and responsible. They're using firearms when they're running and moving and changing positions and going down on a knee and going up over things, right? So they're using firearms. So they get trained very, very well by Scott Sweetman and crew about how to maintain muzzle control, how to keep their fingers off the trigger. And in that, they learn responsibility. They're using a piece of equipment that could be very dangerous, but they've taught how to use it correctly, and then they can do it safely.
But horses the same. If you're not careful, you can get hurt. Power equipment, hockey sticks. Anytime human beings set out to do something physical, there's danger, right?
Yeah.
So we're putting ourselves in that. But let's get back to Hope. And
Yes.
the reason that the talk of Corolla got me fired up about Hope is because.
Did you say excited? You saying you're getting excited talking about my wife, Scott Sweetman?
I fired up. I said I was very careful.
Fired up. All right. Okay. Slow your roll, buddy.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Fired up that because when you see that, you have a lot of hope for the relationship humans have to animals. Because to get us there, we've had to spend time learning the psychology of animals, learning how they think, how they learn, rather than just trying to trick them or bully them or use our tools to force them into doing what we want them to do.
Yeah.
And, like it used to be on a movie set, they used to use a trip line on a horse. So if you take a horse and you jerk their head back and they're moving, they're going to fall. They have no choice. It just physics say
going to happen.
That's what's going to happen. So they would take all these horses and they would put them on long lines if they wanted to show a bunch of soldiers, going down on horseback, and they would physically trip these horses by jerking their heads back and making them fall.
Wow.
Well, you can teach a horse. I saw a great routine. They're long retired now. I was quite a bit younger. He used to travel with the Lipizzan stallions. And he was a clown, but he had taught his horse how to fall down, how to roll over, how to, put on a blanket, how to steal his blanket, all sorts of things. And it was all taught. The horse wanted to perform.
Yeah.
And, I think that hope can come from animals. And tying back in spring, look at this segue here, Al, is that spring is a lot about animals. And if we're feeling down about our own life and we don't feel like we're in a creative space or in a creative loop, all we need to do is go outside. And it's the opposite of fall. And you and I talked about fall and wabi sabi and learning that aesthetic of life is ending and there's beauty in that and all of those things. Spring gives us the other side. If we go outside, we can see, the little blade of grass pushing through. We can see the cherry blossoms coming, which is what's behind me.
Beautiful.
And I apologize, my the hump in my back isn't there. It's my chair and the silly screen that thinks that I don't know what it's doing. Anyway, so, and animals, baby animals are being born. I know as a rancher, spring is always a stressful time. You're calving, you're lambing, you're foaling, all of those things are going on, but it's the beginning of life. And with each life, there's hope. And that's one of the amazing things that I've experienced around the world is that almost every child is born into some state of hope. And by that, I mean, if nothing else, parents always hope that their children have a good life.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And even if that means only slightly better than their own.
Yeah.
And, you and I have been in countries where that might mean just having enough to eat day to day.
Yeah.
And that's the hope parents have for their children. Or it might be like, you and I who, hope our kids are self-actuated and challenged and, give back to their communities and mentor and all of those things, which,
Hey, Scott, you didn't see it probably, but last night I encouraged, cajoled, invited, and finally had my daughter join me for a little talk last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We were talking about just like, I basically said, hey, you know what? I appreciate you and thinking about all of the things in, in trauma and in that we experience, and that in my case, I can't go back to my parents, right? Because they're both dead. So I can't go back to them and say, you know what? I apologize for any time I was a little shit and an asshole. And I know there was times you questioned that what kind of. One time, my mother, I don't know where it was, me and this other little boy, we decided we were going to trap robins. We got nothing against robins, but we put a board up, held it with a stick, had a little string, and then put some bread underneath it. And then when the robins went to eat the bread, pulled the stick out and went stomped on the board.
Oh,
okay. That was when I told my mother that I could have been a serial killer. Like that was like, I was dead to her.
yeah.
And just say, okay, I get it. Like that was very, that was cruel. And I never did that again. I don't think so I never did that again because I saw, the horror in her eyes and I felt bad about like, why did these birds die? Like, I mean, but anyways, so why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you this, Scott Sweetman, because I've come to the conclusion, and this is, I think, the best way to think about it. There is a woman in our world today, probably several, that can do everything I can do as good or better than I can do it. Many, right? And that same woman can also create a human being in her body. So I think then, because of that we should be having females, the creators of life on our planet, we listen more, we value their voices more, we accept their input and guidance more in creating systems that look after human beings, especially considering them being the creators of said human beings.
In some ways, that's true. I mean, women are there are a majority of nurses and caregivers. I mean, there's a minority of men, and I know that one of my medical team, a nurse, is a fantastic man, great father, brilliant human being, and just nothing but good karma everywhere he goes. And a shout out to you, Ryan Phillips. You're a great guy, great nurse, an amazing human being. But
Hey, Ryan, thanks for taking care of Scott for us.
yeah, I haven't worked with him for a long time now, but amazing person. But I've had medical problems on and off and seen a lot of people, and most of them have been women and nurses, and certainly men can be caring, no question. I've had lots of male nurses,
Sure.
just as nurturing, just as caring. But there is some simple facts, right? Like the truth is, Fleur knows the girls 8.5 months longer than I do.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows them in a way that I never can know them, no matter what I do or how I behave or any of those things.
No.
Now, fair enough. I have daughters and I'm their dad. So there's some things that my relationship with them isn't the same as their mom's relationship with them. But, you brought up a very good fact that a mother's role is unique. And spring is certainly the time of motherhood. And we see that all around us. And I'm just saying that in the things I was reading and bringing us up to here is that spring really brings that birth, that creation, that let's try again.
Yeah.
Even if things are 50-50, let's have another go at this. And, what happens is often during the winter, we're in a waiting phase. And waiting phases can be frustrating. Now, they give birth to hope, and they're an important part of hope. Often we have to wait or go without something before we can truly hope for it, right? But winter is often a waiting period. We can't do the things we want to do because the weather is too bad. This last 2 years, we've gone through COVID lockdowns and other things. So we're hitting a period where a lot of those restrictions are being removed from us, and spring is here. So the weather's changing. We can go outside. We can get out there. We can do stuff. So the waiting is over. And
hey, Scott, I've been hugging people like COVID never existed. I've been every time I go out, I'm hugging people.
Well, I haven't got that far, but
I invite them to hug. I don't force them to hug.
That's nice. Yeah. Well, hugging is good, and I'm a big German hugger. I come from a long line of huggers.
You're a good. You're a good hugger. I've hugged you before.
Yeah,
you're a solid hugger.
I grew up in a culture, a family culture, where men hugged each other, held hands. Sure. I have, I don't know, 160 cousins. I'm not kidding. And when we all got together, we built a hall up by Black Falls.
Okay.
Because when we got together, there was just too many of us. So we built a community hall.
Yeah.
And by the time you hugged everyone, it was over. Like you came in the door, started hugging and saying hi. And then by the time you sort of got through everyone, it's time to go home. And you were lucky if you got something to eat in between there as you were hugging and saying hi. And
nice. That's beautiful.
So,
that's beautiful.
Yeah. And I think it's important that we don't hold back those feelings. Some people are uncomfortable. Fleur hates being touched by people she doesn't know. Just really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's not that she's had a traumatic experience. It's not that she's, harboring any kind of wound in anything. It's just she doesn't like other people touching her.
Yeah. And that's personal preference, right? It's it's her body, and it should be respected if she doesn't want anybody touching. So, yeah.
Well, yeah. And some, like you said, it's all about respecting boundaries. But
I have a problem with boundaries, Scott Sweetman. That's what I keep getting told. I have a problem in knowing where boundaries exist. So I kind of bump them sometimes. I apologize if I've bumped any tonight. Sorry.
Not with me, buddy.
Okay,
but my boundaries are, I really like other people to set boundaries. I have sort of a tolerance to, there's not a lot of things that really get under my skin for a long time. I've been through, I think a lot of that is, when you're sitting in a hospital or when when I was in coma, people did everything to my body. Which is some of the trauma I'm still dealing with, but
sure, of course,
everything. And I made a joke when I came out, and this poor little Japanese nurse, I think I damaged her forever. And I woke up and I was sort of coherent again, and it'd been a few days. And I said, "Oh, when I was sleeping, were you poking me with a stick?" Joking, right? Yes. And she looked horrified and, turned white and bowed out of the room. And it's like, Of course, she wasn't poking at the stick. I was kidding, but I think she was worried that maybe I thought, you know,
You know what? You being in hospital and having having what was happening to your body and where it was gaining weight like crazy, even though you weren't eating. How the hell does that work? But anyways, you were like what, 400 pounds?
my total weight.
Yeah,
Right out of the
when
hospital?
you're in Japan, in the hospital,
Yeah, upward of that.
upward of that. And for
Up,
Japanese,
upward of that.
okay, like so where? What number?
Upward of that. 600 pounds.
Six 600 pounds. Oh my goodness. I'm just thinking this little
Oh,
Japanese
just a little bit.
nurse what's that?
I said a little bit under. But yeah.
Okay. This little Japanese nurse that you're, joking with, and I'm kind-hearted, have no intention to harm her, but she's like probably 100 pounds, right? You know
Oh,
what I'm saying?
not even. Maybe
Not
with
even like
higher
the average person
uniform.
yeah, average female in Japan is like 89 pounds and 110 pounds, somewhere in that kind of range, right? So for her, it was just like, holy shit, this was been like you would have been
Nah,
like
they
hard
ran
for
up
her to
and
grasp.
hugged me. They hugged, not in the hospital because I was wearing a gown or nothing most of the time, but when I was around Japan, because sumo wrestlers, I thought I was big, right?
Yes,
The national sumo champions were held in Nagoya City, where I lived, and
yes.
you got to realize that I was only that heavy for a short period of time.
Right. And it was medically
Yeah,
triggered or
whatever.
yeah.
But I sat down, and these sumos came onto the subway, wrestlers, and they sat around me, and I felt like a child.
Oh, really? They're so big.
Like when you see them on TV, they're not just big, they're big, their arms, their legs. Now, some of them were shorter than me, but some of them looked me right in the eye. And I just sat there very quietly and konnichiwa, konnichiwa, and they talked around me. And really easygoing guys. Most
Yeah.
of them are, really gentlemen and
Yeah.
wonderful. And they hold a role in society where they're expected to be a role model, and
Okay. They're kind of ambassadors. Is that
they
kind
are
of
absolutely, especially nowadays because there's so much tradition in sumo that they want to share that with the younger generation, and talk about what the sportsmanship that goes into it, and the rules of fair play, and all of those things.
so do they have a big problem in the sumo circle for sumo athletes getting stoned and going beating people and going and out drinking and
No,
such like that?
no, no,
No?
no. They're quite gentlemen. The interesting thing though is they get very large. They get 480 pounds, stuff like that, but they all lose it quite quickly, so they have to eat special dishes. There's chunko nabe in the Goya Ben. It's called chunko nabe, and it's a big bowl of seafood and carbohydrates, and it's about a foot and a half tall.
Whew!
It's just stacked, and they're expected to drink beer, and they exercise all day. Like that's the life of a sumo. They exercise, they clean up, they exercise, they clean up, they exercise, they clean up, eat lots in between there, sleep, exercise, clean up. Like it's intensive training. And there's a lot of dojos, the schools that sumos go to, but they're only a small number of those are ever represented. It's like us, right? Like amateur hockey, tens of thousands of people play amateur hockey, but there's
Right.
only a small few that ever
Right.
get there. So yeah, pretty. And as far as I know, the serious ones live in the dojo
Okay.
and live a very sort of monastic lifestyle.
Well, it's all they do is eat and train, basically, like take care of, like that's really it, right? So yeah.
But the spring, and one of the great things that happens in Japan is clothing changes in the spring. It happens everywhere, but in Japan they have these wonderful, really light suits. And I had to buy, because of course I came from Canada, and I had my Holt Renfrew, British wool suits on, and you just die in them.
Sure.
Humidity and heat. And
Spring high humidity and hot, right? Is that correct? The temperature? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So spring brings out all of these wonderful adapted Western clothes, but it also brings out traditional Japanese clothes like the yukata, which is very light summer. Kind of looks like a lot of our bathrobes have been modeled after them, but they're light, they're airy, they're hopeful, right?
Yes. Nice.
And winter hope is like, I hope I survive.
Yeah.
Right. But spring hope is like, oh, I'm going to get a chance to play and walk around and see my friends in this time.
Yes. And as you said, things are being born, things are growing, things are turning green. My goodness, it's an exciting time. Yeah.
Yeah. Psychology Today, again, I go back to that article, said that in spring, they find more people actively engaged in betterment or making themselves healthy and happier than any other time of the year.
You had
And
a long pause after engaged in, and I didn't know where you were going with that. So betterment is the word. Okay, that's not where I
well,
was
yeah,
going.
I was trying to be careful there because it's not always physical. We think of betterment a lot in terms of diet, especially now, right? With our
Yes.
body conscious culture, and everyone's on a diet. And I'm always amazed by daughters, which are not at all chunky. They'll be standing in front of the mirror and they're like, Dad, I gotta go on a diet. Oh, I gotta exercise more. I gotta take the dog for another walk. And it's like,
Katrina
wow.
and Sabrina, you're beautiful exactly as you are. You don't need to change a damn thing. You're perfect the way you are. Love your body, love yourself the way you are right now.
But I was lucky. I was a skinny kid. I was a ranch kid, grew up on a ranch. I was, had really tiny waist, big shoulders, and I never thought about weight because we never worked. We played sports, but our workout was 100 hay bales in each pen. 8 pens, so 800 hay bales in the morning before school. You don't need much more upper body weight workout than that a day, especially when it's
That's
every
hard
day,
damn work. Yeah.
whether it's minus 40 or 40 above. It doesn't matter. So I never struggle with that, but I'm always aware of so many youth that are struggling with obesity or anorexia, the opposite end of the scale. And I feel very sensitive to how many of these issues young people are dealing with that we never just wasn't an issue, really.
Well, you know what? Maybe it was an issue, but didn't understand it. When I was 12 years old, I was 245 pounds. 12
Oh,
years old, 245 pounds. So way, way overweight, obese for sure. This is what that would be. And I'm not sure exactly how things got there, but I know certainly part of it is my mother would use food as a comfort. Oh, you're not feeling well, eat something, right? And I think it was for everything. You got bullied, eat something. Oh, you hurt your leg, eat something. Oh, you're tired, eat something. I think this eating was always the solution, I think. And so it wasn't based on physical hunger. It was based on I'm going to eat because my emotions aren't where I want them to be, right? And that's the way you do this. You don't feel good, eat something. Wrong, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense. I should be in tune with what my body needs, right? And eat to where I feel sated no more, right? Or even a little under that part would be perfect, right? But I think that I don't know what was going on then. Obviously, there was a lot of turmoil or emotional things that I didn't seem to have tools to deal with. So my mother gave her solution that she had, which was eat. And so that caused me to balloon like crazy and have all kinds of goofy weight. I am now at my most healthy weight I've ever been in my whole entire life.
and there's hope. How old are
That's
you?
hope.
How old
How
are
do
you
you
now? Roughly.
63. How do I figure that out at 63 with that it took me that long to figure it out? But my body's working better than it ever worked, looks better than it ever looked, feels better than ever felt. So that like
But
it's
do you sit around resenting the fact that you weren't healthier before now, or just hopeful and happy that the way you are now will let you enjoy life more fully
I
heading forward?
make you know what? I made just like my parents did. They made the best decisions they could with what they knew and what they had, right? I made at that time the best decision I could with what I knew and what I had. I've learned things now that now I apply, and the things that work for me, I keep. I accept those and keep those, embrace those. And so yeah, I am very hopeful that I will have a very solid run of very good health and high energy and enough all needs met so that I can really focus on what contribution I can make to others. So I'm super excited about it.
Hallelujah,
Super
brother.
hopeful.
That's fantastic. And I hope that people can take away from that their own challenge to feel good about where you are, and to be hopeful that you can be better. And every little bit that you can feel better, every little bit that you can do better, genuinely makes you more comfortable with who you are. And that's the ultimate goal. And better isn't a scale somebody else gives you. And,
Sure.
and
It's all
this
based on yours. Yes. You.
and our, Fleur specializes in metrics. Michelle's teaching at the university now, and so much what they do is about metrics. And because of the strike, they've had to rework all their metrics about how they're going to grade. And they, of course, their syllabuses were all changed. And our society, education, business is all based on metrics. I talk to great business people that are great mentors to me, people like Dennis Shepard, who works in education and management, and Rick Blakely, who we both know and is involved in nonprofit management, those things. And metrics rule our society, and that's a shame, because the only metric that really should matter is, do you feel that you are being the best you can be?
That's beautiful.
Right? I mean, isn't that what, if you took everything that you've done to be the best person you are now, and certainly since I've known you, well, we've known each other, I think 12 years now. Yeah. I've been here 13. I met you like 8 months after I came back in the country. So gotta be. You're absolutely in the best physical and mental shape since I've known you. No question. Right. And you were 12 years younger when I met you. And so I think that's, some people may look at it and say, oh, that, he doesn't have to worry about stuff I have to worry about. Well,
and that's true. I've accepted I'm very privileged, and I'm grateful for that privilege. And I want everybody to have the same privilege I have. If I could make that happen, I would. Like, if I could say, everybody's got the same as me, I got everything I need to be happy, got enough of everything. I wish everybody have enough of everything. But one thing that I want to mention too as well, Haola. Have you ever heard Haola before?
No.
There's this master, Bing Tong Gong, I think it is. I might have screwed up his name, but anyways, he's a Chinese guy who's a Qigong master, and he's like super entertaining and to watch, and just very sincere and loving, caring human being, right? And just a skinny Chinese guy, but he always goes Haola, and you breathe like this, Haola, and Haola is all is well and improving. All is well and improving, right? So I am my best version, but I'm going to be a better version tomorrow, because I'm going to learn something today, right? Just like I learned from my buddy Scott Sweetman today. Thank you very much for this message, Scott. I think we're out of time, buddy.
I think we are, and I don't think we did spring justice, but we certainly did hope justice. And the only reason we get on here and we share this stuff is not because we like hearing the sound of our own voice, really.
Oh, it is that too, Scott.
Sure. Maybe. But I know from the bottom of our hearts that we hope that something we say touches people just to be a little more content, and not in content, as we've talked about before, in sitting still and doing nothing and accepting pain and discomfort and disappointment, but moving yourself that little bit forward where you can say to yourself, I tried today and I did a little better than I did yesterday. And if people will just try a little bit to make themselves happier, healthier, more hopeful, disregard all the metrics other people throw at them. If you don't have this much money, if you're not this beautiful, if you're not whatever, life will be better. And if all of us live a little better life, we'll stop hurting each other. We'll stop withholding love and affection and kindness from each other, right?
Yes. Preach it, Brother Scott. And
that's what us Hopeifiers are about. We just hope that the world will continue to get to be a better place, and it gets a better place by each and every one of us trying to be a little bit better each day.
Okay, that's great. Well said, Scott. Let me ask you one question. How important is how you value yourself? If you love yourself, how important is that for you to be able to love others?
Number one,
you got to do it. And if you can't say, I love you, because I couldn't before. Yeah. Scott, have you always been able to say, I love you? Or are there times you said, I couldn't do it?
Still not quite there.
So you're not there. Okay. I am. And that might say, oh, narcissist. And that's okay. If that's what you believe, that's okay. But you able to love yourself allows you the capacity to love others. You being able to forgive yourself allows you to forgive others. You being able to have compassion for yourself allows you to have compassion for others. Everything that you have to give, you have to have for you, or at least allow it to flow through you. And you, if you are an individuation of divinity, that's what you are. Why wouldn't you embrace that you are an individuation of divinity and that you are connected through the source of all life to every other human being on the planet, no matter what color they are, no matter what are gender, what religion what language they talk, what they smell like, what kind of food they eat. None of it matters. You're related and connected to everybody. We all are.
You're never alone. Really,
Never alone. No, and you know what? If you can't say I love you, that's okay. Start with this. I am my favorite human being. I am my favorite human being. Just start there. And you're not committing anything. You're not saying you're better than anybody or worse than anybody. You're saying, I'm making a choice that I am my favorite. I'm going to make sure I look after me so that I can be of value to other people.
And for those of you that aren't there yet, and I'm not there yet, I can't say that I am my favorite person. I say I'm going to get closer today to being my favorite person. And at the end of the day, whatever else I failed at, I find that one little thing. Did I pick up my stuff a little more? Did I walk a little farther? Was I a little kinder? Was I a little more understanding? Because if you look and you've genuinely tried, there will be something that you did that made you a little bit better than you were before you did it.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said, Brother Scott. Let's close off on that very well said note. You good with that, brother?
You bet.
Okay.
So we'll see you all next Thursday.
Next Thursday. Keep yourself well. Be happy. Do things you love with people you love. Please.